there's gonna be political disagreements. The question is, how do those individuals treat you? And if they are treating you like a jerk, well then, okay, I can understand wanting to distance yourself. If they simply have political disagreements with you but treat you well that's an entirely different story. And look, I totally get the thing about the egging you on and poking at you and trying to like rally you up. I've like learned how to deal with that, and eventually I'll start to troll back and have fun with it.
What's up everyone, we're getting into this clip from The View where Sunny Hostin drops a bombshell. If your family voted differently than you, especially for Trump, you might as well skip Thanksgiving altogether. This panel takes a small conversation about political disagreements and blows it up into a full-blown moral crusade. We'll break down the hypocrisy, point out the privilege, and expose why this advice is as toxic as it sounds. Is this about real moral dilemmas or just virtue signaling for the cameras? Let's find out.
I'm all for healthy boundaries, but I tend to think mashed potatoes are the great equalizer. Like, you don't want to spend Thanksgiving by yourself because you can't set politics aside.
Whatever your reason is, I would never let my politics be the reason I don't show up to see my family, because they won't always be there.
I'm going to disagree.
All right, well, apparently the View host, Sunny Hostin, is all for Democratic voters essentially spending the holidays alone if it means not having to deal with family members who are big Trumpers, individuals who supported Trump for this election. Now, this is during a panel discussion yesterday, and the ladies of the View were discussing like how to handle some of these difficult situations in which you're confronted with different political opinions that you hate, that you're vehemently against. The topic came up after a Yale psychiatrist by the name of Amanda Calhoun suggested to Joy Reid that it might actually be a good idea to skip the holiday celebrations this season following the election. Let's watch.
There is a push, I think just a societal norm that if somebody is your family, that they are entitled to your time. And I think the answer is absolutely not. So if you are going into a situation where you have family members, where you have close friends who you know have voted in ways that are against you, like what you said, against your livelihood, and it's completely fine to not be around those people and to tell them why, to say, I have a problem with the way that you voted because it went against my very livelihood and I'm not going to be around you this holiday. I need to.
Let's address the elephant in the room, privilege. Only people sitting comfortably in their life can afford to throw away family over politics. Working class Americans, they're juggling bills, jobs, and responsibilities. They don't have time for this self-righteous drama. And here's the funny part. Your family member's vote is not a personal attack on you. Does that mean you have to agree with it? No, but to claim that you're entitled to avoid them because they cast a ballot you don't like, that's just moral posturing. Let's be honest, this advice is about avoiding discomfort, not fostering boundaries.
Take some space for me.
All right, so I'm not surprised that that was something that was said on Joy Reid's show, but I am curious what you think, John. There are those who disagree. Plenty of people who do agree though, but I'm curious where you fall on this debate.
So I guess she and I guess we're going to try to talk about this referencing some like abstract category of disagreeing with a family member. When in reality, it super depends. Like it depends. Like, can a person just have a meal, watch planes, trains, and automobiles and not talk politics? If they can, then it's probably not an issue.
Right.
Some people can't do that. Some people either can't do that. Some people don't want to do that. They love needling you and bringing it up. And I'm so happy, drops in. And there's people like that across the political spectrum. I don't think it's necessarily perfectly evenly distributed. I think some politicians have fan bases that are more like that. I think there are way more people that like Trump and want to talk about how they like him than like Mitt Romney supporters. I don't think you were getting hit over the head by Romneyites back in the day, or Joe Biden. I'm sure there's some Democrats too. But yeah, if it's not an issue, it's not an issue. I have, one family member I can think of that is the most conservative family member I have, and he's not an a-hole about it. So it doesn't really even matter. But if you have a group that might come over and it's going to ruin the day, and the election was literally 3 weeks ago, then in that case, yeah, I think you might have to create some distance.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think it really does depend, right? Because if you're going to preemptively cut people off because you simply know that they voted differently from you and you vehemently disagree with who they cast their ballots for, but they haven't been jerks to you, you can typically have a good time.
This is where the double standard comes into play. If they're not disrespecting you, but you are cutting them off purely for their vote, then guess what? You're the one making politics personal. It's not about morality, it's about control. Stop pretending it's principle when it's just petty.
Time with them and not get into a political debate. Like, I think it's wrong to cut those people off, especially if it's family, friends, people who have been close to you. There's gonna be political disagreements. The question is, how do those individuals treat you? And if they are treating you like a jerk, well then, okay, I can understand wanting to distance yourself.
I don't think politics is a game. I think it's a real thing that affects real people. And when people are dying because they're denied health care, or they fear their health care will be made illegal in the next few years, or if you're a special education teacher and, oh damn, the plan is maybe to eliminate that in the future, then a family member who knows you, knows your experience, and still signs on to potentially you being politically repressed. I agree with the woman in that first video. You don't owe people your time just because Turkey Day is here.
No,
again, it's going to depend on each individual person.
Yeah. Let me be clear.
By the way, make sure to leave down in the comments below your opinion or thoughts. This is a place for discussion. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe. Really helps out the channel. Let's get back into it.
I think it's bad advice to cut people out of your life over political disagreements in general, right? There could be some extreme examples where I think it makes sense, but if you have that general, take on people you disagree with politically, out of concern for you and your own happiness, I would not suggest that you should cut out people willy-nilly, because you're gonna alienate yourself. And like, it's actually, I'm coming from a more selfish place. Like, I love my family and I love my friends, and I'm gonna have disagreements with them, and I don't want to alienate myself from those I love over political disagreements. And you're right, it really does depend. And are they being jerks? And are they like purposely trying to, provoke me? And if someone is trying to make my life difficult, and if they're like constantly trolling me at family dinners, that's a different story. Luckily, I don't have that experience. I did in the past, but that was the past. Luckily, we're over it, we're past it.
I'll tell you, Al has 5 children.
Your husband.
My husband has 5 children. Most of them or their spouses voted for Trump. The problem is those 5 children have 13 grandchildren he refuses not to see and not to be part of their lives. And so for our family, I mean, he has told them, I will not let politics split up our family.
You don't want to spend Thanksgiving by yourself because you can't set politics aside. Like,
this is the heart of the issue. This obsession with politics has made people forget that family isn't about agreeing, it's about connection. Thanksgiving isn't a political convention. It's a time to put everything else aside and focus on what really matters. If you isolate yourself over politics, you're not showing strength, you're showing weakness. Life is short, and the idea that you'd give up time with family to make a statement about your political beliefs is just tragic. When did we become so self-centered that we'd rather sit alone than share a meal with the people we love?
I find that every day in every job I've worked in social circles I've run in, I've been around people who have different politics than me, and it's never gotten in the way of having friendships with them.
I wouldn't have had
I wouldn't have had any friends.
I wouldn't have had any holidays if I had to only pick the ones where everyone agreed with me. And so now there are times,
Max
and
wouldn't be with you.
I check in with myself and say, am I up for this? Because I also know struggling with mental health, there are times I'm not, and that's okay. You step away, but it will never be the defining point, because toxic personalities don't have political affiliations. It's a personality trait that sucks, and we all are related to people like that.
Yeah, I thought that was a good point at the very end, but also, I never really thought about how if you have a disagreement with a family member, that also means, and you're willing to cut them off, that means cutting off the kids that they have, right? Like, I don't agree with my brother on every political issue. The idea that I wouldn't see my nieces again, are you kidding me? No, okay, my brother can say whatever he wants. I'm gonna see my nieces. My nieces come first.
Just invite the nieces. Don't let him come over. That seems super. They're
Well, they're
adults,
too young.
you know?
They're little.
They can-
They're little girls still. So like, I
Okay.
still have to deal
Later.
with their parents. You know? So-
I agree. And I'm not trying to be like a contrarian or whatever, but like when I see the inherent nature of The View is that it is going to be, whether we agree with what they're saying or what we don't agree with what they're saying, they're for the most part, maybe guests aside, a table of well-off people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it is politics means different things when it's like it's the thing you talk about and you get fired up about it and then you go back to being perfectly comfortable with your life.
This is where the privilege becomes undeniable. Sunny Hostin and her co-host aren't facing the same consequences as the people they're preaching to. They'll go back to their comfortable lives no matter who's in office. But for everyday Americans, cutting ties with family could mean losing emotional support and financial help, or even just sense of belonging. The truth is, it's easier to moralize about politics when your life isn't impacted by the fallout of your own advice. So while Sunny tells her audience to skip the turkey if they're uncles like Trump, she'll still have her perfectly curated holiday untouched by the divisions she's encouraging.
And people for whom it's, literally or kind of figuratively, but bordering on literally life and death.
Yeah. No, you make a really good point about the comforts that affluent people are able to enjoy, and to some level that privilege, that wealth can protect you from some of the downsides and some of the actions taken by the administration you did not vote in favor of. So I totally hear you on that, and that's a really good point. And look, Sunny Hostin, she's having a tough go at things, and she's in the complete opposite camp. So let's hear what she has to say.
Whatever your reason is, I would never let my politics be the reason I don't show up to see my family, because they won't always be there.
I'm going to disagree. I completely understand her point, because I really do feel that this candidate, President-elect Trump, is just a different type of candidate. From the things he's said and the things he's done and the things he will do, it's more of a moral issue for me. And I think it's more of a moral issue for other people. We're just, I would say it was different when, let's say, Bush got elected. You may not have agreed with his policies, but you didn't feel like he was a deeply flawed person, deeply flawed by character, deeply flawed in morality.
Like a lot of Dems called him deeply flawed and humanized him.
But you got to admit, they're very different figures. I think when people feel that someone voted not only against their families, but against them and against people that they loved, I think it's okay to take a beat.
Okay, I think she was fine in what she's saying there. Taking a beat is definitely fine. Sometimes you need a break. That's totally okay. Look, I think, John, you and I have the right take. Okay, the right take is.
I generally think that.
Right? Yeah.
Actually, yeah. That's why I take it that way. Because it's right.
Sunny Hostin's take is simple. If your family doesn't align with your politicals, they're disposable. But here's the truth. Relationships aren't disposable, and politics shouldn't define them. The idea that you should cut ties with people who think differently than you is not just bad advice, it's dangerous. Families are messy, sure, but that's what makes them real. If you're willing to throw that away because of an election, the problem isn't with your family, it's with your own priorities. Thanksgiving is about gratitude, not grudges. And if you can't see that, then maybe the real toxic personality is staring back at you in the mirror. Sunny's take is out of touch, divisive, and ultimately harmful. Let's focus on connection instead of cutting people off. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts or opinions down in the comments below if you agree or disagree with a lot of the points made here. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe, really helps out the channel, and we will see you guys in the next one.